Aha. So we're recording. I just want to welcome everyone to the first of two December sessions on Calumet Revisited. Next week we'll have Walter Skiva and Amy McCormick to talk about the history of Calumet College and the future, what the future holds for it. And that was originally scheduled in October, I think, but it was canceled. So it's been, it'll be next Tuesday. And then I have another announcement. It was kind of exciting at our third session of the, in the first week in November at the fourth annual meeting of the Wolf Lake Watershed Advisory Committee meeting. We had through the three fellowship recipients, teachers, and they made a presentation. And then at the end of the meeting, or during the meeting, we started talking about the need for teachers to figure out how to talk about nature from a virtual learning setting. And so
pull that up.
And so we came up with organized a new organization called the Calumet Nature Exchange. And their initial meeting will be on Saturday, December 12th, beginning at 9 a.m. And a person that really helped in that discussion just showed up. That's Wayne Shrimp. And so those are kind of the announcements I wanted to make. And then, and so we'll start out this evening with Gloria. You pronounce that Orozco. And then at the end of her presentation, then Marianne Kozlowski, I'm sorry. Why do I keep having problems with her last name? I don't know. It's got to be that Polish background. But anyway, she will talk a little bit about Beaubien Woods, of which she is co-steward. So, and I've already sent out the biography on Gloria because there's no reason for me to go over it again. So without further ado, I'll introduce Gloria.
Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. And just to get started, I'm going to start sharing my screen. Let's see how this goes. Technology.
Yeah, you know what? We really have to learn fast.
Okay, can you see my screen?
No.
Says friends up.
There it is. There it is.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
But if you can
You
put
see
it, clear the other stuff out. Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, I got scared. Okay. Okay, this might take a little bit to load.
That's all right. That's
It's a discovery experience for all of us. So.
Oh, goodness.
Isn't it? And you know what? We'll probably be doing this each year for the next decade or so.
Okay.
That is true. Okay. Give me a quick second. So again, thank you for having me. I'm happy to, be able to present to you tonight. And I hope that by the end of the presentation, you get to know some of the forest preserves a little bit better through my own experience. So just a little bit of an overview as to what I'm going to go over is like, who is Gloria? So who am I? Where I work, and then a small overview of the forest preserves. I will share a little of the history that I know of Calumet Region. I'm sure a lot of people here may know way more than I do. And information about some of the sites you can find in the Calumet Region, all of which will be through personal experiences. So these are pictures of myself. Again, I'm Gloria. I'm the Calumet field organizer with Friends of the Forest Preserves. I consider nature having been a part of my life as much as I consider myself having been a part of nature most of my life, if that makes sense. During the first decade of my life, I spent my days swimming in natural waters, climbing trees, picking fruit from my front yard, and running with friends and family in open fields. But after moving to Chicago when I was 10, my parents decided that since we now lived in a city we didn't know well, and none of us spoke English, the best thing for me was to go from school to home, and from home to school. So I spent most of my days watching TV, doing homework, and playing board games with my sister. So my first exposure to the forest preserves actually came until my sophomore year in high school, when I joined an environmental club, and they took us on a Saturday morning to a work day at Touchstone Forest Preserve. And I couldn't let go after that. I fell in love with the work, and we were out there during the winter doing brush cutting, and the snow was on the ground, and there was a fire going. So it was just incredible to me. So I've been in the environmental field ever since. That following summer, I joined the Chicago Conservation Leadership Corps program, run by Friends of the Forest Preserves and the Student Conservation Association. I came back every summer after until I was able to join one of their adult crews as a full-timer. So in these photos, you can see me at different stages of my crew life. The adult crews, the bottom left photo is of my sister and I. She actually ended up joining the field as well and did the high school program, and is now currently working at Sawa Nature Center as a naturalist aide. So it's a little bit of a family affair. And then this is my little Day. She's my daughter. I guess I took a little bit of a break from the field to be a stay-at-home mom for about a year and a half. And I came back to the Chicago Park District and made my way back to Friends this past fall. Well, a year ago. This is little Day at Kickapoo Woods holding some loppers, trying to cut something, but not really doing much. So my position is funded under the Centennial Volunteers Program. The program launched in 2014 with the goal to enhance existing programming that engages volunteers in ecological stewardship projects as part of for the Forest Preserve's Next Century Plan. This is a partnership between the Forest Preserves of Cook County, Friends of the Forest Preserves, and Friends of the Chicago River, as well as the Field Museum and the North Branch Restoration Project. The program focuses on sites along the Chicago River, or as well as the Little Calumet River. The program funds 2 field organizers. One focuses on the sites along the North Branch of the Chicago River, and the other, myself, focused on sites along the Little Calumet River in the Calumet region. So our goal as field organizers is to help create a self-sustaining volunteer community at each of the sites. Though we are funded through this partnership, we do work with 2 other field organizers with Friends of the Forest Preserves. So I mainly respond to Friends of the Forest Preserves. Friends' mission is to unite people to protect, promote, and care for the forest preserves. Sorry, give me a second. Sorry, I got lost. We're a nonprofit membership-based advocacy organization that works closely with the Forest Preserve's staff to solve problems together. Friends' role comes in different forms. In my eyes, the main one, because I believe everything we do works towards this, is advocacy, which is actually one of the main reasons Friends was founded in the first place. You will often hear our executive director, Benjamin Cox, talk about how Friends' first office was someone's living room. As an independent nonprofit, Friends provides oversight by attending all Forest Preserve District Board meetings, making policy and budget recommendation, fending off land grabs, bringing the concerns of the community to the attention of the Forest Preserve staff. So we often get calls from community just letting us know that something wrong is going on at Forest Preserve, and we make sure to let the Forest Preserves know. As well as just reaching out to members of our community when their direct voice is needed. An example is with these photos that the small group of girls actually originally came out with their school to do some volunteering at North Site. And when asked to, they came out to talk to a room full of commissioners on behalf of the Forest Preserve. So it was a really special moment for all of us and shows the importance of volunteer organizing and my position. So Friends has a total of 4 field organizers who focus at different regions to engage volunteers. So we have one at Calumet Region, who's myself, the North Branch, Spring Creek, and Poplar Creek. Our focus is to recruit new volunteers, engage existing volunteers, and inform local communities about the Forest Preserves. Volunteers have been out even during this pandemic, doing as much as work as possible while staying physically distant. Lastly, Friends also works to provide job opportunities and paid internship for high schoolers and adults. There's a Chicago Conservation Leadership Corps summer program, which is the one I was part of from 2010 to 2013. It is still running. There's also the Forest Preserve Experience Program, which focuses on the south and west side of Chicago. And this upcoming summer, there will be the Beaubien Youth Corps program, which will be focused at Beaubien Woods. This past summer, most of the programs were done online because of everything that's currently happening. So this is one, I think it shows just, how much they just want to give this opportunity to the teens. And also just a great opportunity for high schoolers to earn some cash over the summer, learn about the Forest Preserves, and start building that resume. Then we have the adult restoration crews that work year round. You may have met maybe the Calumet crew, who has done some work at Eggers Woods, Kickapoo, like all the sites. We have 5 crews currently running. There's 5 to 6 people per crew, and they work really closely with the Forest Preserve staff to plan where work is needed, when the crew should be out, and what training the staff needs. So we work fairly close with the staff at the Forest Preserve, Soquel County, just overall. Their mission is basically to bring people together to care for the Forest Preserves, for the people and future generations. It is one of the oldest and largest Forest Preserve districts in the United States. Within the Forest Preserves are rare habitats that offer plant and animal diversity. As Chicago was fast growing into a great city in the turn of the 20th century, it was clear that the beautiful natural areas could soon vanish if not protected. Community leaders came together in efforts to create a Forest Preserve district. What started as 500 acres of land, known now as the Deer Grove, has now grown into about 70,000 acres. Here is a map representation just of the difference between the 1800s and 2015. So the green area, was all natural areas. The red dots was where settlement was starting to happen. So now you can see most of that green is forest preserves. I'm sure there's like a Chicago Park in there, here and there, but mostly forest preserve land. Just as we talk about the history and ownership of the land, it's important to note that while the green spaces that we saw in the previous slide were intact in the 1800s, they were not unoccupied land. Cook County's natural heritage is amazingly diverse and as its human history. This area has and continues to be home to Native American tribes. Here you can see in the quote, choose the forest preserves land acknowledgement, which I think is a great step forward. Obviously needs to be followed by action as well. So the land is still used and lived on by these and more than a dozen other Native American tribes as a place of travel, trade, gathering, and healing. But we will be focusing on that little circle, which is the Calumet region. So in my eyes, it is special for so many reasons. I find it fascinating that there is such rich nature surrounded by so much industrial land. The Calumet region expands from South Chicago throughout Indiana up to the Michigan-Indiana border. I'm not sure if it's been expanded. The region has been through constant change as settlers moved in and it began to become industrialized. Most of its 45,000 acres of wetlands were drained and filled to make suitable land for industrial purposes. In a way, thanks to companies buying more land than they needed, the Calumet region has been able to get that land back or care for it as natural areas. There are pockets of unique marsh, prairie, and oak savanna still thriving today. These areas, such as Indian Ridge Marsh and Beaubien Woods, are key for 230 resident and migrant bird species. The Calumet region is situated within the Mississippi Flyway, one of the most important flyways for migratory birds in the United States. Natural areas here also support rare plant communities that have become degraded by a long history of fire suppression, invasive species, and a legacy of use as a disposal site for industrial, commercial, and residential waste. This neglect has also a profound impact on the people of this region. For example, poor air quality here has resulted in higher asthma rates than the general population. These issues were raised by Hazel Johnson, the mother of the environmental justice movement, who once lived in the Calumet region in a community adjacent to Beaubien Woods. To me and to friends, environmental issues should be considered and should be a topic of discussions just anywhere where you want to be involved with the community. Sorry. As a field organizer in the Calumet region, my work focuses on 3 different sites. So Kickapoo Woods, Whistler Woods, and Beaubien Woods. My work not only includes recruiting new volunteers and supporting upcoming volunteer leaders, but to advocate for the needs of each site along with the volunteers. So first off, Beaubien Woods. So somewhat of a hidden gem all on its own. Found right next to I-94, a 250-acre site made up of a combination of glacial lake bottoms and Asian beach ridge with some small pockets of artificial fill. Though it's surrounded by expressway, industry, urban development, and landfills, you're still able to find peace, calm, and beauty here. Because of the intersection of many ecosystems, wetlands, prairie, pond, and river, the site hosts numerous diverse species of wildlife, especially during the spring and fall migrations. The wetlands and proximity to Lake Michigan make the area a perfect resting spot for birds. The Field Museum Keller Science Action Center, forest preserves, volunteers, and crews have worked hard to remove invasive species, collecting and spreading seed and shrub planting to restore the preserve. I also learned recently through a talk with my dear friend and colleague, Lorena Lopez, community engagement specialist with the Field Museum Keller Action Science Center, that Beaubien Woods is close to where Ton's farm was once located. So the Tons, who were Dutch immigrants, operated a farm along the Little Calumet River that was a safe house for slaves seeking freedom through the Underground Railroad before the Civil War. The National Park Service has accepted the farm site to be included in the National Underground Railroad Network to Freedom Registry a little over a year ago. The farm was roughly located at 134th and St. Lawrence. It's amazing to think about this as you're taking a hike at the site. You can enjoy kayaking or fishing at Flatfoot Lake, hiking through the woods, birding, sitting by the lake, or volunteering, collecting seeds, or cutting down some buckthorn. Archery on special occasions. But honestly, out of all of the things you could do at Beaubien Woods, I must admit that my favorite by far was canoeing in Flatfoot Lake. Only a few times have I experienced such peace and tranquility. I strongly recommend you come out whenever the Forest Preserves offers this again. Also, recently we had a really special event for Black and Brown communities to do healing in nature, and it was one of the best events I've ever attended. So it's just a really peaceful place overall. And something cool that recently got us all very excited was that the nesting of osprey at the Osprey platform. So as Maggie Jones with Friends of the Chicago River says, osprey depend on waterways with a healthy fish population. By continually improving our local Chicago River system, we invite these awesome birds back every year and hope for a nest on, hope that they'll nest on one of the poles to ensure future generations. The platform at Beaubien Woods is near the Little Calumet River, where the birds can snatch fish with their talons to bring back to the nest. The height also helps protect them from predators such as raccoons. There's 5 of these platforms at the Forest Preserves that were installed by Friends of the Chicago River. One of them is also actually at Whistler Woods, so, but that's not occupied yet. So now on to Kickapoo Woods Forest Preserve. It's a 238-acre site right off Halsted, located in Riverdale. The Little Calumet River runs through the site as well. Here you can find wet mesic and wet prairie, riparian woodland and recreational areas. Families and individuals come out to Kickapoo to enjoy a walk, a jog, or bike ride around the mile-long paved trail loop. The picnic shelters and large grass areas serve as perfect location for picnics, barbecues, and family gatherings. Folks also enjoy the model airplane flying field located at the end of the parking lot. Kickapoo Woods also has a carry-in canoe landing with access to the Little Calumet River. An event with Friends of the Chicago River just passed recently, and people really enjoyed it. Obviously, there were a lot of restrictions because of COVID, but yeah, people really enjoyed just being able to canoe in the river for a little while. For me, Kickapoo is special for many reasons, but one of them is because I have worked there when I was in the cruise. Our crew went out to work along with the Calumet crew, led by Brenda Elmore, who's the senior crew manager now. So I was surprised to find a prairie when we walked through a wall of buckthorn, getting hit on the face by a branch as we carried the tools in. A lot of work has gone into this prairie by volunteers, partners, contractors, FPCC, and restoration crews. So this is kind of how it looks now. It's wide open. You can see it right from the mile-long trail, whereas before there was that wall of buckthorn. All of the buckthorn that was taken out was replaced by native shrubs that were planted by volunteers, some of which included hazelnut and elderberry. So now as I walk through my favorite spot, the prairie, I am in awe at the blazing stars scattered throughout, the milkweed as the monarch butterflies fly by, and the rattlesnake master showing its sharp beauty. As I was walking by the prairie with June Webb, co-steward at Kickapoo Woods, I mentioned how easily I could get lost in there for hours chasing butterflies and dragonflies trying to capture a photo. It's fascinating to find peace here, knowing there's a main road and train tracks just a small distance away. I do want to mention, if you ever go out there, obviously not right now during the winter, do wear bug spray. The ticks are crazy in there and they will tag along. So off to our next site. I must admit, this is my favorite site in the region. It could be because I'm currently organizing the volunteer work days there, or because of the work that I put into the site when I was in the roving crew. I recently worked on a somewhat interactive map that you could use, so I will be sure to share that with you after the webinar. So Whistler Woods is a 130-acre site right off of Halsted and 134th Street. It's currently a site with woodland, savanna, prairie, and recreational areas. The right side of the trail was a large waste dumping operation, probably of material taken out of the river in the early 20th century. You can see that photo on the bottom left. It's actually a car that's in there. That's the crew taking a photo with it. There's something to love about one side of the trail being so disturbed, having mostly invasive brush and non-desirable trees, and the other side being an oak woodland, where most of the restoration efforts have gone into. And I was happy to be collecting mayapple seeds and blue cohosh just this past summer-fall. The mosquitoes were more than happy to have me there for sure for breakfast. Now, let me take you to a really important spot here at Whistler Woods. This is the wall along the bridge crossing the Little Calumet River and part of the Major Taylor Trail. Before, there was a mural. So artist Bernard Williams designed this mural that, in his words, captures the life of the champion cyclist Marshall Major Taylor. A small background on who Mr. Taylor was. He was an African-American man who was born and raised in Indiana. He received his first bike when he was 12 years old and went on to race regularly. By 1899, he held 7 world records. He was considered by many a civil rights pioneer, frequently calling out racism in the track competition world. I can even imagine being an African-American man in that world during that time. It's an incredible piece of history. The trail itself is about 7 miles long and crosses different neighborhoods along the way. Some stretches are on street bike lanes, so make sure to plan accordingly before biking the trail. Now moving on to my favorite spot, Whistler Woods. Aside from taking a walk down the trail while listening to birds, is the savanna that you find on the other side of the trail. This area was restored by volunteers, interns, Kimby groups, and restoration crews. It is very near my heart because I was part of the restoration efforts as a crew member. I am in awe to see how beautiful it looks now and the peace I am able to find there. As you can appreciate from the photos, you can see that right across the area are tracks and industrial land. This to me shows once again the resilience of the land in the Calumet region. There's such beauty to all of this. My favorite activity to do here is seed collecting and listening to birds. Lastly, I only have one slide on Powderhorn Lake, mainly because my work doesn't focus there, but I will be sharing some information about it. So I really enjoy the site, and it's beautiful. It supports sand, savanna, prairie, and wetland habitats, and reflects the richness that survives in similar pockets across the industrialized Calumet region. Powderhorn has an extra layer of protection for its dune and swell landscape, having been designated as a wildlife refuge and a nature preserve by the state of Illinois. Main activities happening at the site are hiking and birding, as well as picnicking and fishing. Powderhorn is home to about 250 plant species and 40 to 100 bird species, depending on the season. There's a big project that is anticipated to start in the summer of 2021 to restore more than 100 acres of wetland by connecting the northern marsh of Powderhorn Lake to Wolf Lake. It's expected that the project will take 3 years to complete. And I believe Marianne will have more details on this project. Lastly, I just wanted to say that, change happens when we all come together. So none of us would be able to do what we do without each other's support. So thank you. And thank you for being, in this webinar. And just know everyone is welcome in the preserves. And, we try, I would suggest just trying to go to different sites. Obviously, once things go back to normal currently, unfortunately, there aren't any volunteer opportunities I can share with you, but I'll be sure to let Michael know if anything comes up. And this is my contact information if anybody wants to write it down. And I will share some resources as well after the webinar. Let me try and stop sharing my screen now.
And let's just hold questions after Marianne's talk. And then we can ask questions on both presentations. Marianne?
Okay. Ooh. Let's see. Okay, we're going to start with a few. Now, these are statistics for all of the Cook County region. I'm going to talk specifically about Eggers Woods, and but I did have some statistics that were given to me by Kristen DePra of the Forest Preserve District of Cook County. So Cook County takes its restoration very seriously, and they have, if you look at the last bullet point, over 90 volunteer managed stewardship sites. So Eggers is one of 90 sites. Eggers is considered one of 38 priority sites. It may be because it has some land which has not been changed a lot. It was not, part of the site was given over to development, but a lot of the site was left intact after some initial logging. So there are about 200 species of plants at Eggers. I think the Bird Conservancy shows something like 250 different species of birds sighted at Eggers. For any birding enthusiasts, I'm very sorry, I'm not a birder. My eyes aren't very good, and I've never really learned the birds. But okay, well, let me move on. Here we go. Okay, so here is a map of Eggers. Eggers runs from 112th Street in Chicago on the north at the top, all the way down to Wolf Lake, which is at the very bottom. So the narrow part of Eggers, the rectangle, is the portion of Eggers which was mainly undeveloped. Eggers is bisected by well, you see it as a tan line across the map there. And that is where the power lines are. That is also where slag was dumped for many, many years. And according to Michael Bose's book, Over the Line, up through 1979. And that book has a picture of the rail cars dumping slag there at Eggers that late. The southern portion of the site, which is hardly managed at all, was the site of the Nike missile base. And as a result, that part of the site is, well, let's just say it needs a lot of work south of the power lines. So we're going to focus on the area north of the power lines. And we're going to start with a walk that takes us past the East Marsh. We have a middle marsh and we have a west marsh. And we're going to just talk about what we find along the East Marsh, and then take a short look down here in the power line area, and then come back up a woodland path between the Middle Marsh and the East Marsh. This is a very personal presentation, and it's mostly pictures of plants that you might see at Eggers, but many which you won't if you stay on the paths. So here we go. Oh, and Eggers, I believe, is about 230 acres, 240 acres. One other thing about Eggers. Before the slag was dumped there, Eggers marshes naturally drained into Wolf Lake, and they no longer do. And this very large marsh here in the southeast corner, the border here, by the way, is Indiana, the state line with Indiana. This particular marsh turned into what the Forest Preserve District ecologists called a bathtub, because the drainage had been cut off to Wolf Lake. Okay, so here we go. So Eggers is dune and swale topology. This is a part of the woodland on one of the ridges. And we're looking to the east. If you look very, very closely, you can see the Indiana Tollway. Eggers does have open woodland. This is an area that we've been working on. And what you can see is the Middle Marsh to the south. We have ditches at Eggers that drain into the city. They've been there for quite a while. This one, although we've been trying to open up the area, what you see in the back of this is a prickly ash hedge, which we're going to leave right there. And if you take a look at this tree, you can see beaver activity, which we'll talk about a little more further on. So when you come to Eggers and you take a walk to the East Marsh, you come along to a construction road. It's very clear there's been new construction and there's been something happening here. This road represents the construction of a drainage structure which drains up into the city of Chicago. We are going to be replanting along here, but this was just completed last year. The Forest Preserve is very happy about this, because what this does is it allows our marsh water levels to come down some and approach something closer to what marsh levels should have been before the slag was dumped at the southern end of the site. If you take a look over here, what you see is a little dark heap. I believe that's the Beaver Lodge. Again, more about the beavers later. Because the district has spent quite a bit of effort in lowering the level of the marsh and getting rid of Phragmites, very invasive marsh grass species, and non-native cattails, they've started replanting. And I believe Green Corps is doing a lot of that planting along the shoreline of that marsh. So this is a walk through the woods along the shoreline, and you can see it's open woodland. When you get to the southern end of that particular path, you are here at the power lines. This is where the slag was dumped. Very interestingly, what you've got growing there now is little blue stem, which is really beautiful. I I've been trying to find out whether or not the power company reseeded somehow, or who reseeded this. I'm not sure if it's the district or the power company. At the on the other side of the little blue stem, what you have is exactly what most restorationists would take out, but we simply don't have the resources yet to work at the southern end of the site, south of the power lines, where the Nike missile site was. This is slag. There are several roads that cross the area near the power lines, and this is solid rock. This was dumped by the steel mills over decades. And then this is the western border of Eggers. It is the Daniel Burnham Greenway. It's quite an extensive bike path. I believe they're looking to extend it. Over here, you see some of our red osier dogwood. This is walking back through the middle marsh, between the path between the middle marsh and the west marsh. And there is a slight curve to the land. You can kind of see. This one just points it out a little more. So you'll find the trees on the drier parts on the sand ridges. Here's a picture that, well, what it shows in the foreground is American hazelnut, but it shows the that ridge, that sand ridge with the oak trees mostly, and then on this side, a lot of dead trees, mostly dead ash. We'll get to that too, and the west marsh. This is what it looks like when it's green. So this is the East Marsh again, and this is the path through the East Marsh. And you can see the dappled woodland that we have here at Eggers. This is our middle marsh. It is probably our shallowest marsh. This one will, and here's a picture of the swamp milkweed in it. This marsh dries up fairly early in the summer. You can see what the water levels were before. In that marsh. And again, this is a view of the West Marsh with the woodland on the upper ridge. This is another view of our middle marsh. And this is cow parsnip. The nodding wild onion. The district cleared an awful lot of the invasive woody species from the northwest corner of Eggers because there was a remnant sand prairie in there. And there's all kinds of things growing back in, including what you see down here, nodding wild onion, the plant that Chicago was supposedly named after. And this again is another picture of the woodland where it meets the marsh at the southern end of the site. And you can just see the dappled effect. This is so important to get sunlight on the ground floor. It's what the woodland floor, it's what makes our woodlands green, being able to see that sunlight. So this is the northwest corner of the prairie. There's sumac growing along the border, and there's prairie cordgrass. And I include this slide, that's 112th Street up there. So this is the northwest end. This lovely red down here is all poison ivy. Clearly we need to, we're gonna need to do something about that. But, and I warn people all the time that want to go off trail that they do need to be very, very careful because we do have a lot of plants which are not particularly good for your health. This is red oak. This is white oak. And this is sassafras. So we have many different red oak and white oak species. We have hackberry, we have hawthorn. But what I wanted to talk about was some of the, actually, Michael, you're going to have to cut me off. I see it's 5:52. I was going to show pictures of, let's see, some of the invasives that we take out. So there's thistle, there's purple loosestrife. You can see the Phragmites in the background. This looks beautiful, but this is extremely unhealthy for our native environments. This is European high bush cranberry. And this one I put in, this is helleborine. This is a non-native orchid, but it is a perfect example of a plant that has come here from someplace else, but doesn't take over. And we just kind of welcome it into the native environment. So it's a non-native orchid, and you might see it occasionally at Eggers, but we leave that one alone. And this is buckthorn, a big trunk in there. Buckthorn can grow to be 30 feet tall. It is not necessarily a small hedge, and it can be a production to take one of those down. This tree has not been taken down by, well, this is a native ash, and that particular tree has been destroyed by the emerald ash borer. And here you can see what the emerald ash borer larvae do to an oak tree and why it is so deleterious to ash. A lot of the dead trees that you saw in the marsh shots that I have are green ash, and they have all been taken down by the emerald ash borer and now decaying and slowly falling. This is what we do with buckthorn and honeysuckle and the other invasives. And this is what happens to them in the end. Okay, we also have a certain amount of dumping on the site, which we're trying to control. I don't have a vehicle on site, but I do have a disintegrating fiberglass boat in one of my marshes. Okay, and we do have various kinds of wildlife. This is a primrose moth in a primrose. We had this poor fella. I just took off the hood of my car and put him in the woods in the back. Dragonflies. In some cases, I don't have, I can't see the insect, but I can see their home. So I'm told this is a mud dauber wasp, probably the home of a mud dauber wasp. Built onto a thistle stem. And we have wasp nests. This was a pretty impressive example. We have evidence in some cases, I've not seen the beaver, but we have a lot of evidence that the beaver is very active. All of the trees that are down there, and they are all oak, are beaver felled oak trees. That's along our West Marsh. This is an area where I'm told that some of these ditches, we have 2 of these were probably created by beaver to help them move their trees along. And there's the other beaver created ditch. We do have deer. They do blend, don't they? I have 1, 2, 3, and there's a 4th deer over here, but I'm not able to pick it out right now. And again, if you don't see deer, you can normally see evidence of deer activity. This particular sapling stem has been rubbed by deer to remove the velvet from its antlers. Here's another example of deer damage with the antlers. And I had to give this shot of the coyote. I haven't seen a coyote at Eggers. I can't get a picture of a coyote. This is a California coyote. He was stuffed. He was sitting in a gift shop at one of the state parks in California. We have a lot of native shrubs. This one is buttonbush. It grows in the marshes. This is its flower. We have something called wafer ash, which is not really in the ash family. I believe it's in the citrus family. There are its flowers. It grows to be about, can grow to be, the examples we have are usually 8 to 10 feet tall. I think it can be taller than that. And here are the wafers. These are the ash, wafer ash seeds. And this is our dogwood. We have blue fruited dogwood on the site, and we have red osier dogwood on the site. The blue fruited dogwood is actually so common and so prevalent on the site that the district has cut a lot of it to take to Thorn Creek to use in a restoration there. And Michael, perhaps I can finish this at some other point. I still have quite a few slides, but
don't feel constrained. Why don't you feel free to continue?
Okay. All right, a few more shrubs. Just cut me off when you want to, Michael. So
Yeah,
this is
this is built in to allow you more time.
okay. Okay, this is American hazelnut. You can see the catkins over there, and I actually got a picture, I believe, of a hazelnut here. The squirrels beat most restorationists to the acorns. We have 3 different kinds of native rose at Eggers. This one I believe is called Rosa palustris. It likes it wetter, and it's growing right at the edge of the marsh. This bush is as tall as it looks. This was taller than me. This was probably 7 or 8 feet tall. This is its individual flower. You can see the thorns. There's recurved thorns on the Rosa palustris. Now these thorns are very different. They come straight out, and these are the thorns on our prairie rose. Very different kind of rose, only grows to maybe a foot, 18 inches tall. And this is something that's been saved because of the restoration work in the prairie in the northwest corner of Eggers. So that's our prairie rose. We also have various kinds of currant and gooseberry. And we have vines. This is, I believe, a smilax vine. It's a briar. Now this one looks like it's a tree with leaves, but what it really is poison ivy. And so we have to constantly watch at Eggers for things like this. One of those slaps you in the face and you're going to be in trouble when you think you're just being hit by a normal tree branch. But poison ivy branches can grow 3 feet out from a trunk, and they can really hurt you. Okay, so now the herbaceous species. This is bloodroot. This is one of the earliest spring flowers at Eggers. The flowers only last for about a week. They have that single leaf and the flower. And if you dug up a root, which I do not recommend and will do not sanction at Eggers, you will see that the rhizome or the corm is blood red if you break it. This is bellwort. And you can see here a bellwort a little later in the season. It has this, the stem looks as if it's piercing the leaves. It's a very attractive plant as a ground cover. Now the next plant is a plant which has male and female flowers. So this is early meadow rue. These are the female flowers, and these are the male flowers. Unfortunately, a lot of my spring ephemerals do not grow very big and these 2 pictures are not taken at Eggers. I have meadow rue, but the deer eat the meadow rue, and they don't flower. I've not seen flowers there. This is starry false Solomon seal, another great spring native. And these are the fruit of the Solomon seal, and then the very ripe fruit by October of Solomon seal. This is feathery false Solomon seal, a relative. And the berries are, well, they don't look quite as nice as the ones for its cousin, but these berries will turn bright red. We have yellow violets, and we have mayapple, which probably, if you've taken walks through Eggers, you know we have thousands of these in the spring. And there is the mayapple flower, and there is the mayapple fruit. We have wild geranium. And we have something called Orobanche. This is a plant which has no chlorophyll, so it is parasitic. We have that shows up occasionally throughout the woods. This is going into our marshes. This is water plantain. Not a very spectacular flower, but I'm told that the seeds are very important food for wildlife. Our swamp milkweed. This is swamp candle. This is a plant that's been saved by the district's removing woody growth in our western marsh. And we have columbine. Native columbine is red and yellow. And fleabane, probably everyone has seen fleabane. We have wild strawberry. And we have monarda. This is bee balm. This grows in several areas. This is a very sturdy plant. I'm hoping this can repopulate in places along the construction site. Bee balm. This is one that the deer won't eat because it's spicy. It's in the mint family. This one, we do have stands of Michigan lily, several stands, and they're being helped a lot by the restoration work. Flowering spurge in our northwest prairie corner. And this is a close-up of the nodding wild onion. You can actually see it's nodding right there. So this is the lavender pink variety, and it also is white. We have 3 different kinds of onion, allium. This one is actually 4 if you count the garlic mustard, but I just assume not count the garlic mustard. This is wild garlic. And this is wild leek. These are the flowers for wild leek. The leaves appear in spring, then disappear, and then later in the season, the flowering stems come up. We have wild licorice. And this is a loosestrife, which is not damaging to our environment. This is our yellow loosestrife, our native yellow loosestrife. We have several colonies of that. If you walk through Eggers in the springtime along the path, and if you look towards the marshes, you will see many stands of our native iris, beautiful stands of iris. This is monkey flower, Mimulus ringens. And this is arrowhead. Arrowhead. Another marsh, arrowhead. This is blue lobelia. I'm very happy to get this picture because normally the deer eat the blue lobelia, and I normally can't get pictures of the flowers of it. This is nodding burr marigold. If you do get burrs when you walk through Eggers, this plant is probably responsible for them, but the flowers are lovely. Blue vervain. This, perhaps several months ago, or let's see, it was probably a few weeks ago, the Chicago Tribune featured a page 1 story about Cook County Forest Preserves and the staff being very excited about having swamp thistle growing in these preserves in the southwest suburbs. Well, Eggers also has swamp thistle. This is a highly conservative species. And if you have swamp thistle, it means that you are probably doing a lot of things right in terms of your restoration. It can be a very tall plant. I mean, the swamp thistles at Eggers are 8 feet tall, maybe 9. These are the flowers. And the big difference, one of the big differences between this thistle and a lot of the invasive ones, even some of the native ones, is that if you take a look, the bracts on these thistles are not sharp and pointy and thorny. In fact, this area of the thistle is actually a little sticky to the touch. So you confirm that you're dealing with the swamp thistle. And so this is a close-up of the swamp thistle, and you can see the bee working it back there. We have turtlehead, and this is another plant that has been saved by restoration in the northwest corner. We have 2 kinds of impatiens, or jewelweed, it's called. This is the more common variety, and we also have the pale impatiens. This is skullcap. This grows in the marshes. Small flower, but we have a lot of them. This is nettle. And we have an awful lot, again, this is the Northwest Prairie. We have an awful lot of spiderwort. So it's really pretty to watch it waving in the wind. Black-eyed Susans growing also in the Northwest Prairie, and mountain mint, another plant the deer won't eat. It is too spicy for them. If you crush a leaf, you immediately get the scent of mint. This is our Joe Pye. Close-up of Joe Pye. And we have 2 different kinds of woodland sunflower. It's one kind. Now this one is not a woodland sunflower. This is sawtooth sunflower. This is another one that I'm hoping will populate areas where the construction took out plants. This is mullein foxglove, blue lettuce, white lettuce, not really white. I think they should be called mauve lettuce, but these are both woodland lettuces. Again, lucky to get these pictures only because the deer really like their lettuce. Drummond's aster. We do have a white variety of Drummond's aster at Eggers. We don't have as many asters as I thought we might have. This one is New England aster. We have only one plant. This is a very common aster, but we have only one plant up there in that Northwest prairie. I'm hoping it does spread. We do have a lot of the weedy goldenrod. This is not weedy goldenrod. This is blue stem goldenrod. This is one of our great woodland goldenrods. And we have various fungi, which I cannot identify, and moss and lichen. We have maybe 2 or 3 different kinds of fern. This one is sensitive fern. And I have a series of various grasses and sedges are extremely important in this environment. And we do have several good varieties. This, I believe, is, well, it's Carex. The sedges are in the Carex family. I think this one is Carex radiata. If it isn't radiata, it's rosea. But Dennis Nyberg can probably tell me which one it is. This is Carex camosa. This is bristly sedge. And when these seeds are ripe, they are extremely, it's very hard to collect these without leather gloves on. They really prick your fingers. This one is called Carex lupulina. And this one is a panic grass. This is, I believe, broadleaf panic grass. Some of these are really beautiful ground covers for native plant gardens that people might have in their homes. I'm very excited about this sedge because I didn't know that we had any of this. This is a very common sedge in oak woodlands, and I didn't see any of it the first 2 years I was at Eggers. This is called oak sedge, Carex pennsylvanicus, and this is it in flower. We do have several stands. Not surprisingly, near oak trees. This is prairie cordgrass. You normally don't think of grasses as flowering, but this is flowering prairie cordgrass. I think this was also called ripgrass. The leaves on this are very sharp, and they cut the bellies of horses when people rode through the prairies. And this is big blue stem in flower. This is one of our woodland grasses. This is bottlebrush grass, and you can see how it got its common name. It does look like a bottle brush. You can see this throughout our woodlands. And this is my favorite grass. This was not taken at Eggers. This is a rescue plant from the Glenview Naval Air Station Prairie when I still lived on the north side. And this is, I'm told that little blue stem and northern prairie dropseed are landscapers' favorite landscaping grasses. And so you can see the gorgeous colors that this turns in the fall, and those are all of the seeds on the grass. Truly a gorgeous grass. With Gloria's presentation as well, you can see that restoration is not done alone, and there are many, many organizations that contribute to it. And one of the important ones, besides Friends at Eggers Woods, is the Field Museum, who sponsored our seed processing. That's a Field Museum manager sitting there, literally boots on the ground here for the Field Museum. Their staff and staff from the Great Lakes Audubon were there helping process, break up the seeds, measure them, and then distribute them to the various sites that contributed seeds. Eggers, by the way, can give seeds away, but we are not allowed to take seeds from any site because we have quite a diversity at Eggers, and the district would like to continue to restore and see what pops up. And this is Great Lakes Audubon. If you walk through Eggers along the East Marsh Path, you'll see that we do have a it's actually crowd hydrology, as it says down at the base. It is a way of helping track the level of water in the marsh, which has had the drainage drainage structure constructed. And I include these to show you what kinds of things we do have at Eggers as trash. Besides the boat, we have a shopping cart, which is really dangerous to remove. It's rusting to the point where it's tetanus city for anybody who tries to take it out. And to just end, this is an evening shot of thimbleweed, which is a prairie native, which we also have at Eggers. Thank you, Michael, for giving me the time to show my slide.
All right. That was very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to just mention that someone left a notice. Oh, Mario in the chat room, and said that the Field Museum group saw a coyote at Eggers about a year ago. Oh,
Great.
so
Hello, folks. This is Blake. How you doing? I'm sorry I'm late because I have difficulty with my computer, and I was mad at myself for not getting the computer to start right. So it's good to hear from you all.
All right, nice to hear from you, Blake.
And I want to ask some of the folks my questions regarding Eggers. Which rare animals and plants that are found at Eggers?
Which rare ones?
Yeah, rare
Well,
plants and
I can't
animals
tell
both
you.
at the same time.
I can't tell you rare because actually, if we talk about cooperation among various institutions, the Chicago Botanic Garden sponsors a program called Plants of Concern. And they train you on going out into the field and monitoring rare plants in the Chicago region. However, you sign a confidentiality agreement. And if I told you what was being monitored,
If you can't tell me that, then tell me which animals that you've seen at Eggers Woods more regularly, especially spring and summer birds, marsh migratory and common birds, as well as other creatures.
well, actually, I apologized at the beginning of my presentation because I really don't know my birds. We do have a lot of geese at Eggers. I've seen goslings, little goslings following behind their mother, walking, to the water or kind of tumbling to the water. And I have seen I think it's a black-crowned night heron on one bird walk. The bird was just posing for us, and that is a rare bird for the area. But in the way of animals, many people see the deer, and some people consider deer Cook County's worst predator because they have overpopulated the preserves, and they do destroy a lot of good plant species.
Should there be hunting of the deer as well as the coyotes to help some key animal populations such as foxes and stuff?
They say that coyotes are self-regulating. I'm not sure. The district does remove, or various agencies do remove the coyotes if they're found to get too close to people. The deer are culled across the entire region. Some municipalities do it, and various county preserves do that. I believe the Cook County Forest Preserves maybe last year donated 13,000 pounds of deer meat to food pantries.
Are they being called at Eggers?
I don't know that they are being called at Eggers. I've never seen them. I've never been told that they are.
There's a lot of deer there.
We have, there are fewer this year than last year, and I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means that they were culled or not. I'm not sure, Dennis. I would like to know. Were they culled?
Yeah.
No, sorry.
Any more animals that you see at Eggers Woods? Like turtles, frogs, salamanders, reptiles and stuff.
We do have, I did have pictures of garter snakes. There's quite a few of those. We do have tiger salamanders. The ecologist, the regional ecologist was really happy to get that picture because they're hard to, I guess, or they don't monitor, the district doesn't monitor for them. So to know that there are tiger salamanders at Eggers is an important piece of information for them.
Marianne, the water control structure that's been installed so they can change the water level, does that now link it to Wolf Lake? Is it hydrologically linked again to Wolf Lake, or where does that go?
Great question. Sadly, no. It drains into the city of Chicago's water system. And so to get that structure built involved, I think, a dozen different agencies. But the problem is that slag that was dumped there along the power lines it's literally drilling through rock, and it's drilling through toxic rock because there's all kinds of poisons in that rock. So if you did drill, besides the cost in the drilling, no one's ever said this directly, but it seems that you would also have to try to mitigate the poisons in the rock and what you might be sending down into Wolf Lake if you did cut through. So the better solution, the best solution would have been somehow to get drainage restored into Wolf Lake, but we can't do that. So the structure has gates on it so that at various times, if the water level is determined to be too high, it can be released into the city sewer system. Now, and this is being done only when there isn't flood stage. If it's a flood stage, the marsh stays flooded until water levels go back to normal and then the water can be released. And that is the exact opposite of what they're able to do at Powderhorn, to just elaborate on what Gloria said. At Powderhorn, they're going to be able to connect the Powderhorn Lake and marshes back into Wolf Lake. And the district has there's a great presentation by Great Lakes Audubon, which might be available on their website, which details how they plan on doing it. And they have purchased land in Hegwish, I believe, that will allow them to build, the structure necessarily to drain back into Wolf Lake.
I think Ollie has a recording of that presentation. They did one at the Wolf Lake Advisory Committee meeting in November, and I believe we have it on our website.
Yeah, it's a really nice presentation of what they're doing.
Yeah, I can remember in the early 2000s when we were discussing that and the reconnections and the pros and cons of that, and so I'm kind of glad now that it's finally come together 20 years later.
It's very important for our East Marsh. It's terrible. Well, our structure into 112th Street is extremely important. By the way, that wasn't the first structure that created the drainage into 112th Street. There was an existing structure there already. So what the district did was revive it when they saw that there was just no way, the study showed there was no way to reconnect into Wolf Lake. It's
Mike, I was trying to get a recap, a video of our last meeting about Native Americans in the Calumet region, and this meeting, in case if I missed half of it, and if I keep missing meetings like that, I would threaten to commit suicide.
Well,
no matter what the price is.
Yeah, Blake, we have that was one meeting where I forgot to start the recording. But we have the Q&A session on our website as well. So if you want to check that out, go ahead.
I'll watch it. Please send it to me.
Okay.
Hey, Mike, can we go back to Gloria? Gloria, are you there?
She's here.
Okay, Gloria,
Here.
in your Wayne Schimpf here, I'm interested in getting a high school age students engaged in the volunteer work opportunities and that. And was just where you mentioned you got your start at your high school. What high school was that?
Curie High School. It's actually by Pulaski and Archer. So a little bit.
What's the name of it?
Curie Metropolitan High
Oh,
School.
Curie. So you went to Curie.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I taught at Hubbard.
Oh, so nearby.
Yeah. So, because I'm interested in, engaging high school students, into the volunteer, pool, because it eventually leads, as Michael says, into advocacy, or so you said, yeah. And that I see the, high school age students coming from, three different sources. Obviously, the high school students, which we're going to be, focusing on in December with the high school teachers, but yet there's two other organizations that are active in your region, and that's the Boy Scouts. And they
Right.
all have service requirements in that for their various conservation awards and merit badges and so on. And would like to possibly talk with you, more about engaging them. And then also the third audience that has high school engagement, and that's the religious institutions through Faith in Place. And so I think that if we're really want to grow culture, in your area, in order to get engaged with all the exciting opportunities that Marianne has, outlined. It's there, all the different, native species and the excitement of seeing them in the dappled light and so on like that, that we've got to reach out to these three, audiences. And then there's another network where these high school students that are engaged there through an organization that I'm involved with, caretakers of the environment, that they can share internationally with high school students that are working in their like ecosystems in other parts of the world. So I think that we've got a unique, opportunity here with this Calumet Nature Exchange to begin to explore, possibilities. And I think that in order to use this Calumet Nature Exchange as a pilot program, that we should also look at get some funding from Coastal Zone Management or the GLRI, programs and so on. So I think that we're really starting to, think things together. And there's some exciting pieces of the jigsaw puzzle that is eventually going to lead to a more sustainable life choices in the Calumet region. So, so I think that's what a lot of us, have as a goal. And I think that, Friends, a hat that I've worn in the past was starting an open lands project, and the various Friends of the Chicago River, Friends of the Parks, and then Friends of the Parks morphed off Friends of the Forest Preserves, all started back in the 70s when I was the lone organizer of people doing volunteer work in the region. So so I think that we've got some growth opportunities here, and I'd love to talk with you afterwards. Michael can help hook you up with me, and if you want to talk to me more, afterwards.
Yeah, and I certainly, everyone here, if you want to participate in that session on December 12th, it's 9 a.m. on Saturday morning. And this will be our initial meeting, so it will be kind of important to have folks there that have worked with volunteers in the past. And of course, I think the challenge is how do you teach nature when you can't get the kids out to look at it? And so I'm really kind of interested in how the Forest Preserve District is planning for next summer. I mean, can we all assume that it will be partway back to normal? But do you know what their plans are now for next summer?
In terms of the forest preserves, no, but I know this past summer, most, if not all of the programming that they did with the high schoolers was online. So they found ways to have either, certain presentations or self-guided projects, self-guided, like going out in nature and doing tree ID, things like that. I think who will have more information for you might be Melissa, and I can give you her information. She's the one who coordinated those programs.
Okay.
That Melissa Hernandez?
Yeah.
Yeah, Melissa and what's her last name? There's another Melissa.
Yeah, because Melissa Hernandez was my coordinator through the Chicago Public Schools with the
Kimby.
Unfortunately, because of COVID, they've let staff go, and I believe Melissa was one who let go.
I have a question. I just want to ask about any plant restorations, including wild rice, wild ginseng, and golden seal, which are two rare herbs, and the wild rice, which is rare grass. Anytime, whether it's at Edgar's Grove or elsewhere in the Calumet, because Native Americans used to harvest those for food and medicine.
We're not specifically going or trying to restore those three plants. Dennis, do you have an answer to that one?
He looks frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think
normally, I don't know. I don't know what the district's plans are for those three plants. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anybody else know?
Nope. No, you'd have to talk to somebody at the Forest Preserve headquarters on that, the restoration planners and that for the various species and that. So, yeah, there. Okay, Gloria. Okay. You said that the high school students have been you've been reaching out through various online techniques and so on like that, and then you encouraged them to do self-guided field experiences, either nature walks or volunteer activities. Was that what you were preparing them to go out and do as individuals with their families?
Yeah, so I know one of the things that was done, there was a big sort of like package created and delivered to each one of them, which that was crazy because it's a lot of them. And they'll have the tools there to do the activities that they were trying to teach over Zoom or, I believe it was Zoom. It was.
Go ahead. Keep going. Yeah.
It was part like Zoom meetings and part like go out in nature and do this or find this. I know one of the projects they did was create a bird feeder using different seeds. Another one was doing tree ID, flower ID.
Yeah. Now, who has those, or are they packages that are available for teachers now to use, or scout leaders, or church youth leaders that are part of Faith in Place in that? or how can somebody, get a hold of them to use them?
I don't know the answer, but I can find that out for you. And then I know the Forest Preserves has done some of this stuff as well, where they have packages for families to do activities from home.
Okay, family packages. Okay, because I'm interested because our Boy Scout program has a brand new conservation awards program, and that they just launched November 1st, and we would like to be able to use something like that, because that sounds kind of exciting for a Cub Scout pack or a Boy Scout patrol or a venture crew or something like that to go out and connect with the natural resource base of the Calumet region.
Yeah, I'll ask around and get that information to you.
Yeah, if you could, and then also that if if we could do some sharing offline to to more specifically, because I've got these three audiences, the high schools and the Sea Scouts, and then Faith in Place, and then connecting globally through my caretakers network, that I'd like to more get a tight handle on this and these resources and that, and also to lead up to present it on December 12th and work with Michael on it, so we can develop sort of an agenda for that day.
Yeah, in fact,
I have a question for Marianne.
Yep.
You referred to a Northwest Prairie,
Yeah.
and is that between the bicycle path cutoff over to the thing and 118th, or?
No, it's actually way in the northwest corner. So it's closer to 112th Street. So it's if you're at the intersection of the bicycle path and 112th Street and you just go south, that's where you can find the prairie.
Between the railroad and the park and the driveway.
Yes, exactly. Between
Thank
the bicycle path and the driveway. Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's north of the bridge. There's that little pedestrian bridge, bikeway bridge through Eggers.
Yeah, the bikeway that connects to the Burnham Trail to the drive.
Yeah, over to the caretakers building and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that area there where they took out an awful lot of poplar, non-native mulberry, and the buckthorn and the honeysuckle and all of the other invasives. And there's they've got that's where some of the blue irises, the Joe Pye, a lot of the grasses, the nodding wild onion, the wild licorice. There's a lot in there.
Yeah, thank you. I haven't been up in that area.
Yeah, it's coming along. It's obviously in need of work, but it's not too bad considering that it wasn't helped much at all until 2 years ago.
Well, just think what it'll be if we get high school students and the scout troops and more people out there engaged in that. So
you really need knowledgeable people. High school students cut everything.
Well, not if they're trained and educated properly.
Yeah, that's a big if.
No, they can be. I've done it.
Well, I do mark what needs to be cut. And I tell people, if the wood does not have orange paint on it, do not cut it. Of course, that doesn't stop some people. I mean, you've got to watch. But I remember once Stephen Packard at one of his work days up at Vestal Grove, he had marked a tree with a huge amount of green tape, which indicated leave it alone. And it was a college student who really wasn't watching and was just kind of posing for the ladies. He cut down an oak tree that was about 20 years old. And I have never seen Stephen Packard in so much pain as when that tree came down. So yeah, you do have to be very, very careful.
Plums look a lot like buckthorn, and you really have to be careful.
Yes, that is very true. That is very true.
Okay, so we're all set for December 12th then. And we'll be kind of extending our conversations, I think, at that time. But this is a good beginning for that. And because no one really knows what our situation is going to be in the spring. And we got to kind of plan for our both events, visual and
Oh, it's going to be fine next year. It's going to be fine next year.
I think it will
December-
too. I'm pretty confident that it will.
For December 12th, Michael, I think that if Gloria could get a hold of some of these family, activity packages and so on, that we could give those out to the teachers and that more or less have clubs and so on structure that they'll be engaging their students with, and we could use those as activity vehicles. So,
I think that's a good idea.
yeah.
And okay. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for spending this time. I think we're all kind of encouraged to continue the effort and with or without COVID. So
Hasta mañana.
Yeah.
okay, take care. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Gloria. Thank you all.